Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Senapatiratna. Grab your favorite drink, get a snack, and we'll get started. Today I have Thin Mints, the Girl Scout cookie kind, because a little girl sold them to me when we were visiting a church. And I happen to have cash. So there we go. And I have orange clove tea that I got from a group of ladies that I spoke to at their Christmas tea. So really, life is good right now. Well, let's get real. I want to talk a little bit about a Bible story I've been thinking about that we've all heard. Daniel and the Lion's Den. Actually, I Googled it to kind of like see it again. I've just been thinking about it and pondering it, and I was like, oh, is my thought process maybe not what the real story was? So I wanted to read the real story again. And so I went back and I read the story. And I'm going to tell you the story and then tell you what I've been thinking about it. So, yay, story time. Get your tea out. Let's do this. So Daniel has found favor with the king. He is moving up the ranks. And there are people around him that are very irritated by that. They're trying to find fault with him to knock him down and get him out of the position that he has been raised to with the king. And so they decide they can't find fault, they can't find a way, anything wrong with him. They're going to kind of do a trick. I don't know, maybe not a trick, but do something like a scheme to try to get him removed. And so they go to the king and they're like, we have a great idea. For the next 30 days, we think no one should worship or pray or bow to anyone but you for 30 whole days. And the king's like, yeah, good plan. You know, who wouldn't be like, yeah, 30 days of just me, let's do this. Let's like side note here, like 30 days of Jenny, not that I want people to praise and worship me, that's not it, but if I like treated myself to something special for 30 days, that'd be kind of fun. Not happening. I'm a little too cheap for that, but maybe another podcast. So the king agrees to this and Daniel hears about it, and it says he went and opened his windows so everyone could see him, and he knelt down 3 times a day to pray to God and thanking him for what he had done in his life. Now, I'm telling you what boldness that is. Like he didn't pray privately. He could have. He could have definitely have prayed privately in his home and no one would have known. Like that would have been just fine. It would not have been a bad thing, but he opened his window so everyone could see that he was praying to God and thanking him. And so the people that came up with this scheme went to the king and they're like, we caught him. Here you go. Daniel did not follow the 30 days. He's been praying to a different God. He's been praying to somebody else, worshiping somebody else, and breaking the 30-day rule. And the king was very upset because the king really liked Daniel. And the king tried and tried to find a way out of it. And then they said, sorry, you can't break your own creed, which I think is kind of silly. I mean, I'm just going to be real here. Like, if you're the king, you make a creed, you should be able to break the creed when you're like, oh, this is silly. Why would I want this? But I'm not in charge of what was happening back in those days. So he has to throw Daniel into the lion's den, which was the punishment. Now we get to the interesting part. The part that as a kid was fascinating to me, still is today. And I had a thought today that I'm going to share with you. But I have heard so many times that God closed the mouth of the lions. And that is amazing to me because I have read that they kind of starved the lions, so the lions were super hungry, which I think is so sad and kind of like just seems like sad for the people, sad for the lions. Like this whole scenario, this does not seem like a good plan when they used animals. Oh, my heart's just breaking. I'm such a weirdo, but breaking for these poor lions. And I have always seen on like VeggieTales and different things like that, the lions were sleeping. Now, it does not say that in my versions that I looked up that the lions were sleeping. It says that the Lord closed their mouths. And I have often thought about Daniel in the lion's den, laying with all the lions, just relaxing. And this morning, God brought a vivid picture of Daniel pacing, staying on guard, and always watching because the lions were pacing. The lions wanted to get him. They were hungry. They were not going to sleep when there was dinner there, and God closed their mouths. And I just imagined me inside the pit. There would have not been a moment of rest and relaxation in that den, as the lions aren't probably not sleeping, are irritated that their mouths are closed and they cannot eat. They are hungry, so they're not very friendly. I'm guessing they didn't attack him, obviously, because it says he came out without a scratch or anything on his person. But that would not have been a restful night for me. I would have been, on a rock looking down if I could. Like, it would not have been me, like, having lion rides that I could climb on the back of the lion and walk around for a while. It would have been a very restless night in the midst of a miracle. And God just kind of pointed to me this morning about this, that so often in my life, God is working a miracle and I am restless and I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm just like, okay, things are working out right now, but how long will these lions let their mouths be closed? Like, I'm just waiting for something to not work out. And God just prompted me to go to the end of that story, where the next morning the king comes and, I'm not 100% sure, never have been, why the king came. Like, there's no reason for Daniel to still be alive. You threw him in the den, and there's no reason for him still to be alive, except that I believe that the king really wanted God to come through, really wanted that miracle to happen. And so often people around you want a miracle to happen in your life and don't know how to express it to you or to, except if you see a miracle that is happening, be praying for them. And I don't know if the king I would have been praying for Daniel. Like, let him live, Lord, let him live. This will be a miracle. But the king goes and has the big stone removed from the top of the den or the side of the den. I don't really understand dens, but that's okay. And there he is. He is taken out with not a scratch on him. And he said, for the king lives forever. May the king live forever, which I thought, first of all, he gave reverence to the man that threw him in and said, I still think that you deserve to be king. The Lord closed the mouths of the lions, and I am here. And he came out without a scratch. And I feel like God is saying to me today, and I hope that you hear this, that you may be in the midst of the lion's den, and you are like what I would call a cat on a hot tin roof. You are like, I see that a miracle's happening, but I'm not 100% sure if it's going to go all the way through. Am I going to make it through the night? Am I going to make it to the other side of this with a miraculous story? Or is this a temporary miracle in my life? Do you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're just overwhelmed by, you're like, is this just a happenstance? And honestly, I don't think those are part of God's will for our life. I believe that God has ordained every step in our lives and every detail in our lives, and that there are no happenstances when it comes to the Lord. When a miracle is happening, a miracle is happening. When God steps in and directs your path, he is there, stepped in your path with you. He doesn't go, you know what? I'm going to go halfway through the night, close the mouths of the lion just for half the night. The other half, I'm just going to let them go and we'll see how it goes. That's not how God works, And you can look at it story after story after story in the Bible. There are so many times that God miraculously steps in and he doesn't say, you know what? I'm just going to open the sea and let half the people of Israel through. And then I'm going to close it because, I really don't want to keep it open the whole time. when he does a miracle, he does it all the way. And so there needs to be a sense of, God, you've got this. And when you start seeing that God is miraculously moving in your life, I know that for me, it's hard to stand in peace in that moment. And I'm guessing God came to Daniel in that den and gave him peace, but he probably was still pacing. He probably was still moving around. He was not like, hey, Daddy Lion, I'm just going to lay next to you and we're going to chill and we're going to, just be fine here. I'm guessing there was still some movement. And in the midst of a miracle, there are some moments that you need to go, God, I trust you. And other moments that sometimes you need to move. Like, if the lion comes over and puts his paw on your chest, you don't go, well, hi, little lion, how are you doing? You move. Like, you move. And I don't know what that means for you. I know what it means for me. I know that as we move into the season of trusting God more and more for our finances, that's a time that I'm like, okay, Lord, like our finances have been great up till now, and I don't know that I can trust you for the next season. And he's like, but Jenny, I don't let the lions eat you halfway through the night. And that's hard for me. I'll be honest with you. That's really hard because I'm like, but Lord, I don't know if you're going to continue to supply our needs according to your riches and glory. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. And this morning he just planted and said, I do not let the lions eat you halfway through the night. And I know someone out there needs to hear this. God does not send a miracle and send provision and stand with you halfway through. He will be there all the way through whatever you're walking through. He's not going to stop halfway through. He's not going to walk away and say, well, that was good. He's going to walk all the way through with you. And so just stand with that. Know that the Lord is saying, I'm not going to let the lions eat you halfway through the night. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I pray that you find some encouragement in this, that you would share this with people that you love, that you would go on and rate and review my podcast. That would be really phenomenal for me. I'd just love that. But most of all, that you would understand that God doesn't stand with you halfway through. He's going to be there with you all night long, and he's not going to walk away in the midst of whatever you're walking through, financially, emotionally, mentally, physically, in the middle of an illness. He doesn't walk away. There may not be automatic healing sometimes, but he doesn't walk away. He stands there with you, and he doesn't say, you know what, that was enough. I'm good. I'm going to go take a little break now while you're still pacing and like a cat on hot tin roof. I'm just going to let you be there for a little bit. He's going to stand there with you all the way through. Well, you can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram, Facebook, and Be Real. On Be Real, it's real.life.w.jenny. If you're trying to find me, I would love for you to find me on Be Real. You can also find me at christconnection.cc/Jen. The Lord is doing some great things, and I just want to make it very clear, I am very financially, we're fine. It's just a trust in God moment, where you're just like, Lord, will you continue to see me through? Will you continue to bless and help us find favor with you, just like Daniel? And I know he will, and I know he will in your life too. So as we walk through this week, I just want you to remember, whenever you feel like giving up or you feel like God has walked away, remember that God does not walk away in the middle of you in the den of the lions. He will be with you all night long. Have a great week.